Hey, what's up guys? On today's video, we're gonna talk about Next.js 13. We're gonna build this simple application. On this application, we have 3 pages. The first one is called homepage. In the homepage, we have a common list and a to-do list. And we're gonna have a users page. On user page, we have a list of users, and we can click in user's name and to get users details by user ID. And the third page is a post page, and there's a list of posts, and we can get post details by clicking on post ID, on post title. Then we can get post details, and also on the search input, we can get post by user ID. For instance, we can type in a user ID 1, and we can get the result of the post from user ID 1. Okay, and let's start. So let's go to a folder. Let's say I'm going to document on projects folder. We create a project for Next.js 13. So we use npx create next app, and at latest we're gonna use latest version of this CLI. So we call the app called Next 13 demo. Would you like to use TypeScript? No. ESLint, yeah. Tailwind, no. And use src directory, yes. App route, yes. And customize the default import alias, no. Okay, let's. We're gonna come back for that. Okay, we have project created. Let's open the project with VS Code. Let's say Next 13 demo, and open. Okay, let's zoom in for a little bit. Let's zoom in like this size. Okay, and first of all, I want to look at the file folder. As we can see we create this folder, we have node module, and we have public. This is that we put our assets like fonts and pictures, image, and we have ESLint config file and JS config file, and Next.js config file, and then package JSON. And in package, there's a couple of scripts here. We can start the project with dev. We can build the project, and then we can start the project after we build the project, and the ESLint, and a couple of dependencies, which is quite simple. Let's look in the src folder. There's a folder called app. We're gonna use this folder in most of time to develop our app. And as you can see, we have a default folder, default files like create by CLI. We have layout. As we can see, in the layout, we have some metadata, and then we have a root layout, and this is return the HTML, which is our entrance of our app. And it takes children, so everything in children gonna in here. And the page, let's look in the page. On the page, that's the our project. So everything in page that gonna passing as a children into layout.js. Go yeah, let's start the project and take a look. Let's say npm run dev. So we're on port 301. By default it's on 3000, but I'm using the port 3000, so gonna use on 301. It's gonna change that automatically anyway. So let's see. Let me just narrow it down to so you can see two screens. So if we're gonna change something here, anything, let's get div let's say Next.js 13 demo, and as you can see, the on this URL localhost 3001 there's we got hot reload. So next thing I want to talk about is we're gonna talk about a routing system in JS 13. It has like new routing systems. Let me just show you some demo. So before that, I'm gonna change JS to JSX because it's like I prefer doing on that way because it's React JS extension, and then we're gonna remove CSS. We don't need CSS. We don't need CSS for this demo project. Got error. Let's say we don't need image, no CSS. And gonna change these styles. Okay. Okay, and we're gonna go for a routing system here. So for routing system on Next.js 13, so we can create, if we're gonna go for a route, for instance, we're gonna have a page called users page. So if we're going to users page, there's nothing in the moment. So we can do is create a folder under app. We call it as users, and inside user we have a file called page.jsx, and this is the users page. And let's do that. I copy that to this side. Let's say this is users page, and we're gonna have I am users page. Okay, if we refresh URL, as you can see, we are on users URL, and we having that direct to this folder. So basically, this is every URL segment is referred to the folders in app. So we can try that again. We're gonna have a post folder. We have in a folder we have page.jsx. Then I'm post. So we have users, we have posts. Yes, you can see we have on the posts page. This is the routing system in Next 13. And the next one I want to talk about is called Next.js routes. So we can have like like post. Maybe we have post ID, and in the ID we can get a user or something like that. So we to do the nesting. So what we can do is under user, we're gonna have user details. We're gonna have user detail page. What we can do is, because the user detail is, we can get user detail by user's ID. So we can have different users ID. So that's gonna be a dynamic route. So that's gonna dynamic under next route. So for that we can create a folder. For the dynamic, we're gonna get ID, gonna get user ID. So we can use the square bracket, and then we're gonna say ID. Okay, and in the ID we have page.jsx, and let's say we get user details page. Okay, let's try that. And let's say users. In the users, we have, like, for instance, we have a user ID 1, and that take us to the user details page. Okay, and how can we gonna get ID in this page then? We can get a param here. That gonna ID, that's gonna pass in here. So we have params. Let's say if we can get ID, params ID. Let's say, as you can see here, we have an ID here. So whatever we pass in URL after users, like, we can get the ID. So in the future, we can get users information by ID. So so instead of doing param.id, we can use object destruction. That's the ID here. That still works. Yeah, so far so good now. And the next one I want to talk about is a file called layout. As you can see, on default we have layout page. This is the main entrance of our app. That's HTML body, and then we're passing page as children. And what if we can get another layout page for user? We wanna, in user page we can have layout. So we can create a layout.jsx, and of course it's empty file now, so that's error, just ignore that. And let me just copy the code here, and we paste that in users. Let's say, don't call it route layout, let's say users, capital letter, users layout. Oops. Users layout. On users layout, and then we can say this div, and let's print out something like I am users layout, and then that's gonna take children's. So as you can see, we are on users page, and so everything in users page is in layout. Let me do that to the make it to header 1. So it automatically put the layout outside the user page. So everything we write in users page files is gonna be inside of user layout. And then let's do that for posts. Let me just copy that and page, let's say post. Let's see if that works on the post, and it works too. So that's the layout. We can get layout for any orders of the URL segment. Like for instance, maybe we have some IDs. Maybe under ID we can have like more things. For instance, maybe we have like more posts under this user's ID. We can get layout as well. So mainly the structure is that for every folder, like for app folder, we have layout and page. Like for users folders, we can have like page and layout. We can do like more nesting for more furthers, more deep. So that is like layout for Next.js 13. And for next, I want to talk about is metadata. As you can see on layout page, we have default metadata. So what metadata is, like you can have like more contents here. For instance, we're having a title, and we have description. Maybe you want to add something like keywords. Keyword, let's say JavaScript, maybe React. So basically, the titles here in metadata, it shows on the top on the tab on browser. Let's say if I want to do that for users page, user can do that on layout. So this is gonna be users page. Let's say that for users page, and there's anything. This is for showing users list, user lists. We just leave the keywords here. So if I save it, and we're going to users page. As you can see on the browser tab, you can see there's a user page, and if we open the DB tool, we see, let's see, in header. As you can see, we have detail, description, keywords, and we have titles here. That is better for SEO. That's the main feature of Next.js, the server-side rendering, optimization for SEO. Okay, we have metadata API here. Then next one, and I want to talk about is how to create a component in Next 13. So we have 3 pages. We have home page, users page, and the post page. So if I want to have a navigation bar, so we can have we create a component. Let's say components, and in the component we have a file called headers component. Let's say headers.js. X. So let me just copy that. So in headers we can have component called header, and in header let's say home page and users page and a post page. And we're gonna use that because we're gonna use that on the outer layer of this page, so it's on the root. So all page then you can see is all page that gonna contain header. Let's say header component. We import that and use that. As you can see, we have a home user post, and we go into home page. We can still see that, and the post page, you can still see that. Then we're gonna have navigation. So let's in header. So in Next.js 13, we instead of using, normally we're using like a tag, let's say, and maybe home. Like home is gonna be slash home, or others like users, and this gonna cause problem because it gonna to reload whole whole project for every time you navigate to. It's gonna refresh, reload all application. So we don't use at in Next.js. We use an API called link. Let me show you. I think link, we can import that. So we have link, then we have attribute called and href. So that's for home page. Now gonna do users and that's for users. That's for posts. Let's see. We can see that now, and maybe we can add some separation. As you can see, we can navigate now. We can have home, users, post. Yeah, that's good so far. And then we talk about components. And the next one I want to do is we're gonna have a common list on the left side, and we have to-do list, which is we're gonna request API. So in Next.js 13, we have a API route handler. Let's say, let me just show you. We have component, we have that pages, and we can have API. Let's say API, we leave it as a for common API, we can have comment. Then we have a route. That's the default for files. Let's say comment, and so we can define a route inside it. Let's say copy the code here. So and this is for users, and then we're gonna use comment. We get the API from JSON placeholder, and that's gonna return post, no comment. Okay, we get that defined. We define a comment, common API. Let's try if we can get the results. Let's say, so it's under API, and that's for comment. As you can see here, we get data returned back from JSON placeholder. We can get whole list of the comments, and for comments we can get data. Then I want to get for to-do list to-dos. So in here we can have to-dos. That return result, we use JSON to format data. and to-dos. Let's see if that works too. API to-do to-dos. Yeah, well, we get two API defined, which is very helpful and easy. It's just like we just need to create a folder, and we create a folder and define the API. Then Next.js they does the all hard work for us. So okay, we have a API handler, and then let me just do the list here. Let me show the list in home page. We can have two lists. One is called command, and the command one is for to do. So what we can do is we can create two components. One for to show detail of to do, and another one is to show the detail of commands. So so in components we can have a to do .jsx. So I already wrote the code. So this is to do component. We have to do, and we're gonna call this method to get the data, and that map through the list. So for to do, so let's say not this local that's API called to do, right? To do's, and we get the result to do that loop through to do's. We get to do's title, and we have that component, and the next one is called command component. Commands JSX. Same thing. Instead of writing all code, I just copy and paste from my previous code. So we get the same thing. We need to get commands data. Let's say this is API. We get commands. We fetch data from commands, and we call a function called JSON. Get the detail. Get commands, and we list of the command name. Okay, we got that. We define two components. We're gonna use that in our home page. So we need to import that to do's, and another one is called commands. So we get that import that we're gonna use. Let's say command list, and we have a common component in. Let me just copy that and duplicate. That's to do's. And that's to do's. Okay. Let me go to the home page, see if we can get to list. Yeah, we got a common list, and we have to-do list here. Let me just add some CSS in there. Let's say div style with flex, so we can see two rows, two columns. Let's see. As you can see here, we have common list and the to-do list. All data is from JSON placeholder, and like I want to show you an example here. And what if like to-do list is like it's gonna take a very long time to get back the data? What is the page gonna be look like? So that's gonna be, if we say like here we fetch data from to do, and if we set a timeout here we stop that for 3 seconds, and then we carry on with all the rest of the word. And if we reload page, as you can see the page is loading. It's gonna take a long time. Let's say, let me open new tag. As you can see, you can say it lasts 3 seconds because to do API that hold the request, waiting for the data to come back, that's gonna cause a problem. We don't want page to take so long time to load. So what we can do is we can ask a loading icon or loadings, or something to show before data get back. So what we can do is like we can get a file called loading, and it's empty now. It does cause the problem. And what if we can get let's just copy that. This is going to be loading page. So basically what am I doing here is that if I'm loading a home page, if that data doesn't come back yet, we show loading here first, so that users know it's loading now before data come back. So let me show you. Let me just refresh this page. As you can see, we got loading now, and it's gonna show data until data come back. It just provide a better experience instead of like waiting for a blank page and the user doesn't know what exactly going on. So that's one of the optimization, and we can get a better experience. We wonder like if common list is get back before to-do list, we want to show common list. So what we can do is I can do the suspend boundary. So let me just show you. Let me close out this. So what we can do, we can import suspend from React. Then we can wrap the component with suspend component. In a suspend component, like if data doesn't come back yet, we can have a fallback. So we have a attribute called fallback. So in fallback, there's a element So if that's we're still waiting, we can have some notice here. We can have custom loading. So let's say loading comments. Okay. So on to do, we can have same thing, loading to dos. As you can see right now here, let me close that. Right now here, as you can see, common list is loaded. Common list has loaded immediately, and a to-do list it takes 3 seconds, and it's a loading to-dos because we wrap to-do component in suspense component, and then we have a fallback loading here, which is like very convenient and very user friendly, because like in our page we have like our page nowadays is formed of multiple components, like maybe 10-20 components to build out a page, and then maybe some of the components they need to fetch data, and the data takes a long time to come back. We can render whatever the page is, whatever the components is ready, and then we give you a notice on the component that wasn't ready for data. Yeah, that's suspense boundary. And we have user page, post page. The home page is done now. On the user page, we want to define API for user to get a user list, and the post page, you want to get a post list and post details. Okay, for API here, we can have like a Next.js API as well, and dynamic API. So which I'm gonna show you on users page. We're gonna get a user list, and we're gonna fetch user list, and then we're gonna fetch user ID by dynamic ID. So what we're gonna do is we can, in API folder, we create another folder called users. Let me just copy here. Users. Let me just close that. Users, that's gonna be users. Let me do that. Same thing for posts. And then let's try if we can get data back. Users, yeah, we can get users, got user ID, name, username, email, etc. And post, yeah, we can get post title, post body. Okay, cool. And I want to do dynamic user inform, like user details. So what we can do is we can, because this is dynamic, right? So we need to create a folder. We're gonna take param as ID, then routes dot JS, not JS, JSX. So copy that, and we're gonna take params here. I think it's an object, param, and then let's see if I can get. We're gonna use string template here. Let's say param ID, because how do we know we got ID? Because prompts, okay, so let's try that because it's ID, because this folder we name is ID, and that's one, and we're gonna get, let's say, got ID 1. Let me see if we can get details. No, that's not. We need. Oh, sorry. Sorry, we're gonna call API ID. Let's say. Yeah, if you can see, we can get all details. We can get like the final URL segment, and we get that as a param, and then we get param's ID. Let's do the destruction. Let's say ID. Here, as you can see, yeah, same thing. We have ID. You can get users details now, and I wanted to do the same for posts. Oops. JSON placeholder posts. That's a post, one post. By user, one user. Okay, we have defined two API, users and post, users ID and post ID. And now we're going to consume these two API. So in users page here, let me just close API. On user page, we have a users page here, and I want to show the list of users. To show the list of users, I want to create a component called users that take a list of users, then to show all details. And thus we're going to have users. Yeah, inside component, let's say users. I paste the code here. Users, we take users as a list. We map through users, and we bring our user's name, and we use API link API, and which is gonna direct us to user detail page. And I save that, and we're gonna do the same on post component for post. It's same thing, so the same thing, map through post, and get a post title, and if we click on post title, it's gonna direct us to post detail page. Two components, then we gonna consume these two components, this page. Okay, yeah, we need to import users component, and the users component take users pro, as we defined earlier in users component. As you can see, we defined users here, so it take users. So here we need to get data from, so let's say get users, and that's a assign function. So we get users, and gonna await fetch. Let's say here fetch from users, and they're gonna format data. No, that's response. Okay, we have this. We wrap the API in a function called getUsers. So we get users away, getUsers, users. What's going on here? That's not a default function because this is we use a with. That's a assign a with. That's a assign function. Let's see if we can get data on user page. As you can see here, we can get the data, and we pass the data to users component, and they show the list of users. Okay, as you can see there, we can get on users detail page. We have we can get the user's ID. And let's try the different one. This is user ID 7. Okay, we have users page now, and we're gonna go for user detail page. We're gonna get data by user's ID, which is passing from users page. Okay, we're gonna pass in from the URL actually. Yeah. So we're going to have user detail page, and in here we're gonna show all user details. Just copy some code from here. We're going to have the user's name, user's surname, user's name, email, phone, website, company, etc. So we need to define URL called get users detail. That's gonna take param here. That's ID. The assign function. And it return object, we just destruct that. Here, as you can see, we get user's detail here, like user's name. We get the data from JSON placeholder. We can get user's details. Okay, that's home page, users page, get user list, and clicking user list username, we can get users details. Okay, we have done users page. We're gonna do the same thing on post page. So on post page, we're going to have same thing. I just copy the code. So just save your time because it's same work from post. And then let me just do copy code from here. Get user instead of get user, get posts. Right, then we have like a post comes post equal to away post get post. That's the assign function. Let's see if that works. Let's go to post page. Yeah, as you can see, you can get a list of posts. We're clicking. Oh, it doesn't. We don't have post detail yet because we never defined the post ID, post detail page. But it works now. We get a post list. Let's go for post detail. So maybe you can use that. No. Okay, let's create a post ID, post detail is relied on the ID, so it's going to be dynamic. So that's ID and the page JS. As you can see, it's like very similar to users detail page. We have a page called post detail page that take ID because we define a folder here is called ID, and we take the ID, we get we fetch data, and we fetch data from API post, and then we get ID, and we renders post details like post ID, post user ID, title, and body. Let's see if that works. I'll reload that and clicking. Yeah, as you can see, you can get post details here and the user ID, which means like this post is posted by this user. And try that different. That's post ID is 12, by user ID 2, and the post title and the post body content. Here we have users and the posts, home, 3 pages are done, and one more thing is I want to add some functionality, which is the search bar on the post page, which is that we can enter user's ID and we click search, and it gonna fetch post that belong to this user. Okay, let's go and let's see what am I gonna do now. We're gonna have an input box here first then. So that's user detail, get that done. User ID, post, we keep this page, and we're gonna have the search box, and let me do the search as box as a component. Let's say component, let's call a component called search JSX, and we can have let me just the search component. Let me just paste some codes here, and as search here we have a form. It's an input box. We can get data of user's input, and that's a search button. Let's handle let's say handle event prevent. Let's just copy the function. Let me and then we're gonna use this search in our post page. Let's say let's import that. Oops, there's something going on. Query. Just let me just value. Let's just give it empty string now. A function. Let me that bring in another concept called server component and client component here. Let me just show you document, go Next.js. If you look at the document here, it's a React Essentials. It has mentioned about like a new concept of Next.js 13. It's called server component and the client component. And I want to point out something here. Server component and client component here. What's the difference between them? It's a server component will normally to fetch data on server side, which is like more close to your database, and access backend resource directory. Yeah, and it can keep the sensitive information, of course, because it's on the server side. It's like it's not exposed to clients, so it's like more safe. And large dependencies on server side is like if we have like for single page application, we bundle everything in one bundle JS file, which is that gonna maybe like quite large, and if you transfer that to front end, it's gonna delay and gonna take quite a lot of time to transfer this file, and in order to render, to show the page, or to show interactivities to clients, which is going to take quite a lot of time. And for this is that if they bundle everything in HTML, that's going to, and everything that is necessary for this page, they're going to transfer that to front end, which is going to be a small file, and there is like more quicker. And like for client components, that you need to for some like file or component, if they have like interaction with clients, interaction with your users, or if you have some like event like click event or on change event, that has to be in the client component. And something if you use the hook like state, use reducers, that has to be in the client component. Or if you want to call browser API, or some custom hook, basically is the hook in React anyway, so it has to be in the client component too. And if you want to use class component, that has to be in client component. So for our scenario, we use the functions here. We use the function that's gonna take the events, and we're gonna use the state. We're gonna use hook in the future too for this component. So this component has to be client component, because it has interactivity with clients, because user gonna input, they're gonna do the search. So to transfer, so everything in app directory is a server component. So in order to change server component to client component, we can use the directive called use client. As you can find that in from document. Let's say use client. As you can see, client, like use client directive is a convention to declare a boundary between a server and the client component module graph. So we add that to our server component. See if we can get rid of the error. Yeah, here we go. We get rid of the error by adding use client. So this is a client component because it has interaction with clients. Okay. So next thing we have that search and client command. Then maybe we can do some we used on the users page. So what we want to do is we want to get an API. we wanna get API when we click search, and we can get a list of posts that belong to this user. So what we can do is we're gonna fetch data. So that's gonna be a assign function that fetch data, and that's gonna be that we fetch posts that belong to this user. We're gonna put the user ID here, and we get post. Okay, so let's use in here whatever has changed. We're gonna call set query, and we're gonna have use state. So default gonna be an empty string, so we're gonna get query and a set query. Okay, so if we have changed, that's the value, default gonna be query, and whatever input has, we set query that takes the value called the value is in event target and the value. Let's see if we can print the value here. Let's return that. Let's say if user ID is 2, so you can see we can get the value here. 3, 5. Yeah, we can get the value, and so we get the value. We make the request. We make a request, and we print out the. We get the post here. And let's see if we have a API. Did we create API here? Post ID. No, yeah, we can use that. So it's fine that we can get the ID. Let's see if we can have get a post back. We check that on our browser here. Let's say user ID 1. So we get user ID 1. We return the post that belong to user ID. No, it doesn't work. What if we just call that JSON placeholder straight away? Let's say JSON, yeah, we can get data back. As you can see, this is all posts. The user ID is all 1 because this is belong to user ID 1. And of course, we can wrap that to our local API. We can wrap it inside users folder. We can have the ID inside the IDs. We can have a folder called posts, right? I'm gonna leave you guys to do that if you guys want to. On here, we just call JSON placeholder straight away. Query. Okay, we have a post, and that's input. So we get a post from search component. We want to export the search result to post page. So in post page here, that because post that take the post. So we want if we get a result from search component, we want to export that to this post page, then we can use it. So to do that, we're gonna passing a function, passing a probes called get, let's say, using, let's say, get post results. That's a function that's called passing a post, and we're gonna define this. We're gonna set post here. We set this post to set post, and in here we can have two states. Use states. That's a default post, and we can have a post and a set post, and I think it's gonna cause an error because we use state here. That's gonna be a client. That's gonna be a client component because we use a hook here. You're important that use hook that only work on client component. As you can see, that's the error. It says you need to use client components. So what we can do is we can simply change that to client component. So what's going on here? So it shouldn't be a async function for client component. So there's no error, and we don't have a data for post. We don't have a data for post list because I commented out, and maybe we because this is a async function, and we can't use async function in the user client. So what we can do is we can use use effect. We can wrap that in use effect. Let's say use effect hook. So take a function and take dependencies. So in here, what we can do is we can use we call this function here. That's the get post assign function. In assign function, we get the result. We get the result of post. We set post. Okay, then we're gonna call this function. So when this post page is loaded the first time, loaded on first time, and they're gonna call this function to get the data, then set the data. We use the set data to set a post, bind the data to post, so we can have a list of data. So for search side here, and if we got a search side, we get a post, and because it take the get post, this get post results. So we get the results here. Then we can pass that into. We can pass that in, and that is pass that to parent component, and in the parent component it also set the posts. Let's see if I get a user 1. As you can see, it returned the view article. I believe that belong to user 1. Let's click in to have a look. As you can see, that post is belong to user 1. The post ID is is 3. Let's do user number 2. As you can see that we can get posts for user number 2. Yeah, that's pretty much we get all functions done on our small app. And that's pretty much it for this video for sharing of Next.js 13. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you like video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll see you guys on next video. Bye for now.